The end-to-end encrypted messaging app Signal was subpoenaed by the state of California to reveal information, messages, contact history, etc., about one of their users. And this is the ultimate litmus test in the messaging app world. The ultimate litmus test is the government comes knocking, the US government comes knocking, what do you hand over? And in this case, Signal only has when the account was created, timestamp when the account was created, and when they were last connected to Signal servers. They literally don't have your profile picture, they don't have the groups you're a part of, they don't have your contacts, they don't have your messages, they don't have anything. And they show this, they are able to reveal exactly what they handed over. So this is the ultimate litmus test. This is why I trust Signal more than any other end-to-end encrypted messaging app. First of all, it's open source, but also the proof is in the pudding. If they had the data, they would be forced to give it over to the government, and they don't. They've done this before several years ago. They've released that, listen, we've been subpoenaed. Here's the information we have. They are the GOAT of messaging apps. They are at the top. Above WhatsApp, above iMessage, they are the GOAT, and I commend them for that. Let's get into that a little bit deeper. So Moxie Marlinspike is the founder. Certainly runs things over there. He's a total beast. Super, encrypted. Fan of private messaging, private communication, which I'm a big fan of. I understand this can be used for, like any technology, can be used for nefarious activities, but it's too important to not have, right? Just like, fucking private communication is a fundamental, very important right. And the issue with, you might say, okay, well, what about there should be a backdoor, there should be a way for law enforcement to easily get around it. Time and time again, we've shown that anytime you build a backdoor, the hackers are going to use it too. The NSA in the United States has had their hacking tools exposed, and other people have been able to use them. The only way you can ensure that both hackers and anyone, for that matter, not just government agencies, cannot get access to your messages, is if no one can get access to them, not even Signal. Okay, it's end-to-end encrypted. The keys do not leave your device. No one can read them. So, there's always, I think people conflate a lot of, let's get into this a little bit. So I'll read from their blog post. So on October 27th, Santa Clara County requested information about Signal user. On October 28th, a grand jury from the Central District of California requested information. And here's what they had to say on their blog post. As usual, we couldn't provide any of that. It's impossible to turn over data that we never had access to in the first place. Signal doesn't have access to your messages, your chat list, your groups, your contacts, your stickers, your profile name or avatar, or even the GIFs you search for. As a result, our response to the subpoena will look similar. It's the same set of account subscriber information that we can provide. Unix timestamps for when each account was created and the date that each account last connected the Signal service. Even though we had nothing material to provide, this request also came with an order for non-disclosure, which was extended 4 times. Though the judge approved 4 consecutive non-disclosure orders, the court never acknowledged receipt of our motion to partially unseal nor schedule a hearing, and would not return counsel's phone calls seeking to schedule a hearing. We'd like to thank the ACLU for their assistance, particularly our counsel for this response, Brett Max, Kaufman, and Jennifer Granick. Right on. I love it. I fundamentally believe in this technology. I think a lot of people in end-to-end encrypted messaging, and I think a lot of people they just don't understand messaging apps in general, and I think the gradients of security. So I'd say the next second best one is WhatsApp. That is end-to-end encrypted. It actually uses the Open Whisper Systems protocol. It uses the Signal protocol, which is what Signal uses. They invented it, and they helped WhatsApp implement it. So WhatsApp uses it. So that's why I put that second. But WhatsApp also gets information about, I believe, who you're talking to, your profile picture, the name of the groups. So they get some information. Signal doesn't even know the message, who sent the message. They have this notion called sealed sender. So when the message hits their servers, they don't even know who it's from. They just know who they have to send it to, which is an incredible thing. It's almost mind-blowing. How can this technology work? How can it do so much? And they literally collect no data. It's fascinating. Well, it's cryptography, baby, and it's very powerful, and it's fucking incredible. iMessage isn't as good as I think a lot of people think it is. If you have iCloud enabled, which most people do, and you're backing your messages up to iCloud. They call it end-to-end encrypted, but then if you're backing up to iCloud, then they have your keys. They have that encryption key, and they can decrypt. I wouldn't even consider that end-to-end encrypted. I consider end-to-end encrypted as the key doesn't leave your device. It goes in transit. It goes to the other person's device. Boom. and iMessage, if you have iCloud enabled, and you're backing your messages up, which I think most people do. I personally do. I have it on a year retention policy. That's not that's not encrypted. And don't even get me started on iMessage in China. They work with a state-run cloud provider, and Chinese iPhone users, iOS users, all their data is completely not private at all, 100%. And then below that, there's some other messaging. But SMS is the worst. It's not end-to-end encrypted at all, and yeah, good luck with that. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Signal. Not my family group chats on it, and I text a few other homies on it. And most people don't use it, and I'm not that much of a hard of that. I try to convert people, but frankly, I personally use WhatsApp. WhatsApp is my go-to messaging app because it gives you that end-to-end encryption, which I think is, I have nothing to hide. So two things to that. One, it's just a matter of security. It's not about hiding anything. It's just this is the most secure way to run a messaging app, and then encrypted. No one can view it. It's not about even political. The first point's not even political. The second point is, I trust the U.S. government. Well, first of all, they betrayed our trust with the Snowden leaks. We already knew that. They lied to General James Clapper, lied to Congress on 2 occasions. They lied about bulk data collection of millions of Americans. They did that, So the cat's out of the bag on that. And then you say, okay, well, they were collecting data because they were trying to find terrorists. Okay, fair. But what happens when this power is used? What happens when it gets in the wrong hands? I think we take our government for granted, especially in the U.S. It's safe, we can trust it. Well, I think generally people actually don't think that. But on an absolute basis, the U.S. government can be is stable. It can be trusted. Compared to other countries. I'd say Western democracy. I'm not saying we can be trusted more than other democracies, but I think certainly up there. There's a bunch of freedom indexes and government transparency thing. Third parties do reports on governments, and certainly you can't argue that the United States is way up there in terms of accountability and how democratic we are over here. But you just don't know who is going to use these tools. Let's say they're only trying to find terrorists. Well, who's going to use the tools to do something besides find terrorists? There were cases in the Snowden leaks where Snowden talked about people using it to spy on ex-girlfriends or to spy on ex-lovers, it's always ex-people, damn. So there's that. Then there's also the fact that what happens when, I think we had a hell of a presidency that I think a lot of people did not expect. We had someone that was really fucking pulling every lever that they could to stay in power. And what if our institutions weren't as strong as they were? What if all our messages were bulk data collected by the NSA, and Trump had a homie at the NSA and he was able to read people's messages? I mean, that is not out of the question. Absolutely, it's not out of the question. If you think it is, I believe you haven't been paying attention. So that's why it's important. This technology is extremely, extremely important. And I always think about this. We can regulate our way. We can regulate our way to privacy and do all this shit. At the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. You can put up California's got their, there's Eurozone's got their, what is it? I don't even remember the acronym. But it's at the end of the day, you can write all the legislation around, you can't read other people's messages. Well, I'd just rather have an open source app that's end-to-end encrypted. No one can read them. I believe the code. There's no legislation around it. It doesn't matter. I believe in technology. But big fan of Signal. I think one of the guys that worked at, was it one of the ex-WhatsApp guys that worked at Facebook, gave $50 million to the Signal's nonprofit. I'm gonna donate every month. I'm a big fan. I just ordered a T-shirt. But anyway, yeah, Signal. If you don't have it, I recommend it. It's a cool app. I would say WhatsApp is smooth. WhatsApp's just smoother. WhatsApp's just so hard to beat. But Signal's definitely up there. iMessage is smooth too. But if you're trying to be, you want to try to be the most secure, Signal, disappearing messages, you can go the whole nine. And as we've talked about on the show before, there are things that this isn't perfect, right? There are tools that actually can, that we've seen hack into iPhones, zero-click exploits, and can grab the memory on your device. So even though it's encrypted, when it's sent to your device, when it's on your device, this tool is able to actually extract messages directly from your memory where it's unencrypted as it sits on your phone. So it's possible to actually read these messages, but it's definitely more difficult. And that's a targeted attack as opposed to a bulk data collection situation where you're just listening to the wire and siphoning up everything. Well, okay, this was fun. Just want to do a quick post on this because once again, Signal's proved itself. This is the litmus test. The government came knocking. Here's what we have. This is all we have. You can't lie about that. You need to, by law, as they should, give up what they can. This is we live in a society, so you have to comply. And another point on this, people say, this is bad people are going to use this. And Apple actually pointed this out in a post when the FBI wanted to build a backdoor in the iPhone. They said law enforcement has more data than they've ever had to catch criminals. Way more than they've ever had with these phones. All the location data alone, photos, pictures, videos. They have more data than they've ever had in the history of law enforcement. They can get by with, we can retain our freedoms and they can still solve crimes. So they do not need this. But it will get interesting. I think it will get interesting as we've yet to see. A Signal can have groups up to 1,000 people. And unlike WhatsApp and Telegram, which Telegram's not, and Telegram's not on the level of WhatsApp. I should have talked about Telegram. I'd probably put that. Ben Thompson did a rating of these two. I think Telegram, he might have put below iMessage. I don't exactly know, but I don't really it is open source. I don't know. I'm not a Telegram user, but if there was a major terrorist organization using Signal, there's no way for Signal to even know. That's what's scary about this. Well, they know the phone number. So they have phone numbers, right? But that's all they have. So I think it's very possible that there will be some major thing coordinated on Signal, some major political event that a lot of people don't like. Call it a terrorist attack, call it whatever. And they're going to have some serious, I think there's going to be some serious questions about, because Signal has less than anything else, any other messaging app to actually do something if shit were to hit the fan, which obviously is good and bad. I think it's overall good. I think it's a great piece of technology, and I think it holds the other apps accountable and shows what you can actually do with software. You can provide a great service without collecting data. So right on, Signal team. Keep doing your thing. Thank you for listening. This is No Gradient Podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcast. Just search No Gradient. Please rate, comment, subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Would really appreciate it. Also on YouTube. Check out the show notes for the YouTube link. Also on TikTok, Dick Lucas, and also on Twitter, Instagram, Dick C. Lucas. Go ahead and find me there. And we'll riff, comment, let me know what you think. It's all a dialogue, people. It's all a goddamn dialogue.